Welcome back, everyone. I hope you've watched the 6 preceding videos because we're trying to march through this book, the 11 chapters on everyone's test. Now, I'm calling this video 6 because it is. It's not necessarily chapter 6 in your book. It depends if you're a barber or a cosmetologist, and even after that, which edition of the book you have. The numbers are different all the time, but the material doesn't change. Today we're going to discuss disorders and diseases of the hair and scalp. You have got to understand, and this is a must. There's no way to pass the test otherwise. The 3 layers of your hair shaft. There's the cuticle, the cortex, and the medulla. The cuticle is the outside layer. It controls the porosity of your hair. Porosity becomes very important in further chapters on chemical hair services, relaxers, perms, hair coloring, bleach. Porosity is pretty much the controlling factor in this. Suffice to say, the cuticle layer of your hair, if it's closed, your hair has low porosity. If it's open, your hair has high porosity. We'll get into it much more in further videos. The second layer of your hair, the most heavily tested, is the cortex. The short answer here is all changes, physical or chemical, happen in the cortex. And then there's the medulla. The only question I've ever seen on the medulla is which section of the hair is naturally missing in some people? The medulla. It's a hollow core at the center, which is generally missing in blonde and red hair. It's not always missing, but most of the time it is. They have no idea what its function is, so they really can't ask about it other than to say what layer is naturally missing in some people's hair, the medulla. The other thing they will ask you about is the bonds in the hair. Now, there's a dozen kind of bonds in your hair. There's peptide and polypeptide and keratin. The only one you have to know about is called side bonds. Okay? There's the hydrogen bonds, the disulfide bonds. Especially if you're a cosmetologist, I guarantee you 5 questions. Side bonds, hydrogen, disulfide. For barbers, 2 questions. But they're on the test every day. And before you say, oh, I don't care, 2 questions, keep this in mind. You can fail your test by 1 point. If you're in a state that requires 75%, you get a 74, you fail. Okay? If you're in a state requiring 70, you get a 69, you fail. They don't care. Okay? And I will tell you, my grandfather used to say this. He said, what does it say on the diploma of the stupidest person that ever graduated from medical school? And I said, I don't know what to say. And he said, doctor. No one cares if you passed your test with the minimum score or you got 100. They don't care. They only care you have a license. No one cares whether you failed by 1 point or 20. They say you failed and you're taking the test again. So before you say, I don't need to know, fill in the blank, you keep in mind, okay? The barber pass rate is 30%. That means for every 10 barbers that walk in across the country, only 3 walk out with a license. And cosmetologists don't feel so important. Your pass rate's 50%. For every 10 cosmos that walk in, 5 walk out with a license. If you average them together, that means out of every 10 students, only 4 pass and 6 fail. There's something drastically wrong with this system that fails 6 out of 10 people every day. What's drastically wrong is your teachers and your school directors and your school owners. They know what I'm saying. They don't care, because if they cared, they wouldn't let it happen. Right? Now, there are some teachers out there who are wonderful, don't get me wrong, but the vast majority, I'm sorry to say, are there for the paycheck. Now, I know, having said that, whatever teachers already don't hate me now, and they've just turned me off. Except for that rare teacher that knows what I'm saying is true. And that person is like finding gold, okay? Believe what he or she tells you, because the very fact that they have the nerve to show these videos means they know what I'm saying is true, okay? So, what are they going to ask you in addition to this chapter? They're going to ask you about draping. Now, I had a young man from Syria who failed his test in California. He got a 74. California requires a 75. And he said to me in complete sincerity and honesty, why do they care about the drapes in my house? And he points to the drapes behind him. Now, people laugh when I tell that story. It is, yeah, there is a certain humor to it. I'm not going to I'm not going to deny that. But he didn't find it funny, okay? Because he had a small baby, okay? His wife had very limited English, so she wasn't able to work yet. He had a lot of pressure on him. He had a lot of bills to pay, okay? And he was really quite serious when he said, why do they care about the drapes in my house? They don't. They used the word draping on the test, D-R-A-P-I-N-G. And he said, again, in complete sincerity, there was 3 questions about draping on my test. I don't even know what I answered, but if I had known they were shampoo capes, I probably would have passed the test. And yeah, he probably would have, okay? Draping, okay? They're going to ask you, what is the proper draping for wet surfaces and dry surfaces, or for chemical surfaces and non-chemical surfaces. For barbers, how about head shaving? Now, again, I don't have the time to get deeply into this in these videos. My co-owners and co-workers insist I keep the videos to under 10 minutes, so I can't really go deeply into it, okay? Suffice to say, okay, some draping requires a cloth cape and a neck strip or 1 towel. Some draping requires 2 towels and a plastic or vinyl cape. You need to know the difference. And P.S. for barbers, head shaving requires 2 capes, plastic and cloth, and 4 towels. Now I'm going to stop right there. Okay, actually I'm not. One other thing I'm going to keep in mind, alopecia, A-L-O-P-E-C-I-A. Alopecia is a nice fancy medical term for hair loss or baldness. There's a dozen kinds of alopecia. On the test, they ask about traction alopecia, androgenic alopecia, postpartum alopecia, alopecia universalis, all kind, okay? You need to know all of them because you don't know which one or 2 they're going to ask you on your test. If you need to know more information, get our book. Visit our website, www.cosmetologystateboardexam.com. Take the free practice test. At the top of the screen, it says free practice test. It drops down cosmetology, barber, aesthetics, nail technology. Take the free practice test. Give us a call if you have any more questions. We do private duty tutoring. It's very, very effective, about a 99% pass rate, and very affordable price. 760-534-4434.